Okay, so new Webflow to Shopify tutorial. This one we're going to show you how to get around that irritating limitation of Webflow, that 30 custom fields limit. So for a number of you, this probably won't be an issue, and this is technically a more advanced tutorial. But basically, at some point, you're going to create a website where your product pages or your collection items are going to need a custom Metafield. And then you're going to exceed or have so many that you're not going to be able to utilize Webflows and that core Webflow Udesly way of working, which, if you're not sure what that is basically when you go and you create a new custom field. And here I've got quite a few already created, and I go and I create a custom field and I call it something and then say field. But now, as you can see, is I can't create any more. 30 is the maximum, which is highly irritating if you're trying to create, say, for instance, a product page with product features that have 16 to 20 different product features. Each of them have 5 custom Metafields for each, like a product title, a Metafield for image, alt text, maybe an icon and a paragraph. So you can see they're gonna add up very, very quickly. So although this is the easiest way of creating them, and Udesly have done a fantastic job of making that process very, very seamless, we are going to need to have a custom Metafield app in our back pocket just so that we can get around this limitation if and when it presents itself. So Shopify has a huge number of these different Metafield ones. This one's my favorite, which is the Accentuate custom fields. And basically, I like it because I think the UI is really great and it's very easy and intuitive to use. So if you haven't got one, I recommend that one. So to get started, install that onto your Shopify store. I've already done that on the test store that I'm working with. So you can see it there. And I've also got the Webflow importer installed as well. The other thing, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that this is completely saturated and we're not going to be using it for this particular regard. So I'm going to close that down and forget those fields ever existed. Another thing that I've done here is I've quickly pulled together a rough features section that we're going to just use as an example. And what I've got here is I've got some elements that we maybe want to control the UI color of. We want some icons that we want to be able to change, some text, and an image. Now, the image stuff is a little bit more fiddly, and the UI stuff. So I'm going to do that later on in the tutorial. I'm going to show you some general workflow, just getting the text elements coming across. And that's pretty straightforward. But first, what we need to do is create the Metafields within Shopify so that we can then pull over those Metafields to make sure that they are correct. Okay, so over to the Metafields manager of your choice. And again, Accentuate does a nice job of kind of grouping everything. It makes it very intuitive. So products is what we're going to be doing is products. And here we're given this particular UI. So we're just going to create a section. I'm going to call it product features. I did it already, so I'm just going to select that, hit done, and now it just groups everything together. Now we're going to add in our first field. So it's going to be features icon 1. Again, I've done this before, so you type it, I don't have to. And we're going to give a namespace of product feature. Now, namespace again is when you can have global or you can have a specific namespace, which again, it just groups everything so that when you are editing it, it keeps it all together. So I'm calling it product feature. Okay, so next we go over and we have to select the data type. Now, this particular app gives you quite a number of different data types. I like to stick within the Shopify created ones because it just maps closer to what the Udesly one does, and also means all the data is stored within Shopify. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find Shopify, and we are going to be passing a URL into the image tag, so to speak, of the HTML. So we need to have it as a URL, and that's why we're not going to use the media one, because we're passing the URL into the image HTML, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. Anyway, so that one's done. Now we need to create a feature image. So if we go over to here, we create this image one. Now the image one needs two. It needs an alt tag and an image. Alt tag, if you don't know, it's important for SEO purposes, but also for people who who are blind, and you need to be able to kind of understand what the image is. So it's important. Cool. So let's go over. We will just go add field. feature image. One. And again, product feature, keep them all same namespace. And this again will be our Shopify URL. Okay, done. Next. All right, next one up, we need to do that alt text. So add a field. Alt tag, yep, and product features. And it's a text field. So scroll across, one line would be fine. And there we go, we'll pop that underneath the image. So that's a nice thing about this UI as well, is that you can sort and reorder your Metafields quite easily, which you can't do in Shopify native. Hopefully that's coming because it's irritating. Okay, next we will do our UI color. So we'll pop one over to here. We will go add a field. The feature icon underscore color. One. Product features again. And we will choose again the Shopify color. Say next. And done. Okay, that can just sit underneath the icon. All right, next up, title and a paragraph. So let's create those. We'll just reorder these quickly. Okay, so once you've got those created, hit that save button if you're using this particular one, because otherwise it will disappear. Okay, so now when we want to include these, when we're talking about images or certain assets that you want to affect the HTML, there's one way of doing it. And when you want to include things like text, which is very easy, we utilize a liquid object attribute that Udesly provides. So if we go on over to Udesly University and we go to Shopify and we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see there's these advanced liquid elements, and you can see here there's one that says object. What an object is it basically allows you to render a particular bit of information or a bit of data within the constructs of either a text, a paragraph, a div, etc. One thing to note is you have these like curly brackets, and these curly brackets, when they are together like that, basically signifies that within there is the object that needs to be rendered. So it's important, but there's always a space on either side of them, as you can see here. So there's a space there and a space there. That is very, very important. If something's not working, check that first, okay? All right, so let's just copy this liquid object. We'll head on over to the first bits. We'll just do the text stuff first, and we will just go to our custom attributes, go into here, copy and paste liquid object into the name, and then all we need to do is copy and paste our title. So if we just scroll down here and we copy that, go to here, paste. Now, when we utilize the liquid object attribute, we don't add those curly brackets I just told you about, because the conversion process will define and add those for you. This is not the case when it comes to doing the images and the other UI elements, and I'll tell you why in a second. All right, so that's that one done. Now we need to do this little paragraph. So again, over to our store. Sorted. Okay, so those two things will come across now perfectly fine. So now let's do the UI color. So we want to be able to change this thing on color. Now, unfortunately, there is, well, not unfortunately, there just is a class that's already defined as purple, which we want to get rid of because that will overwrite things. So we just get rid of that and it'll go white. And now we need to basically add the background color. Now, because background color is a style, we want to be able to change the HTML elements style. So based on a Metafield. So you can't just go liquid object, paste in our thing and think it's job done, because it's not going to work that way. And it's the same process with images. So what we need to do is we have to target the HTML attributes. Now, again, Udesly does a great job in terms of giving us all the equipment that we need. So we go over to here and we scroll down to HTML attributes. and we see this thing, HTML attributes, and it gives us what we need to be able to do it. So we can see here that basically when we pass in this HTML attribute, we get these different attributes that start coming out on the opposite end. Now, okay, it looks a bit confusing, but it's actually really not. So all we need to do is copy this HTML attribute tag, and we head on over to our custom attribute again, pop that in there, and now we want to change the style. So type style, our straight bar, and we need to be we're targeting the background color, and we need a colon, and then we're adding in our elements. Okay, then we just need to copy and paste our icon color field, copy that over to here, and plop that in there. Just copy that out, just double check it. All right, so we have our style, background, so there's our issue background, color, colon, and then our product fields. That should do it. Okay, so once we're there, we just copy that now. So that's why I bring it into this. I can spot any of those issues. Just copy that, head on over back to here, hit in our features icon, and then just copy in our HTML attribute, and then pop that in there, and job done. All right. Okay, so the next thing now is that icon, and basically we have to place a URL within the image HTML. And so basically the way we have to do that, we can't use that liquid object, we have to use the HTML attributes. So, and firstly, where I'm getting those URLs from is when you go into your settings in Shopify, you have a thing called files, and here you can upload any images or files that you want, and you can then just copy and paste the link, and we're good to go. So what we need to do is basically target that HTML element. And so what we're needing to look for is a thing called source. So, and it abbreviates to SRC, and it's basically just the URL. So all we need to do here is, again, we go into here at HTML attribute, we type in SRC, our straight on thing, and then again our tags to open and close for the liquid object. Go back to our thing, and we need to get our icon. Here it is. Copy that back into here and paste. We'll just copy that. We'll go over to our here, and we'll see here. So what we've got here is we've got SRC straight, curly brackets, space, then our product feature Metafield, another space, and then close curly brackets. And that's enough. That's all we need. Okay, hit save, and that's done. So that's pretty much it. Now, if we want to do the product, so for instance, we want to do this image. Now, again, just to quickly kind of go over this, the best way to do images is to do it the way that Udesly does through the CMS. So basically going into here, creating your custom feature image, for instance, one of those ones, and then kind of linking it through the CMS. So get images from products and then kind of go that particular way. That's the best way to do images. And the reason being is because it will add source sets, which means that the images will resize based on the device width. It'll also create your alt text kind of Metafield for you, and it'll create the Metafield that you enter in the URL. So for ease of use, that is the best way to do it. Unfortunately, there's going to come times when you're just going to run out of Metafields, or you want to keep them all together using the one same UI, so you need to kind of know how to do it. Now, note this particular piece. So because this image is quite small, we're never going to have like a really large 2500 width image. We should be optimizing that image within our, before we upload it, to make it like, I don't know, let's say 600 width maximum. So that image is quite small, and so when it starts to collapse down, the dimensions is not changing dramatically. So that means that from a page speed point of view, we're not serving a really large image, and then when we get to smaller and smaller browsers, we need to serve a smaller and smaller image, because ostensibly they're pretty much the same size all the way through within this particular example, and if you're using it within this particular type of setting. So the source set isn't an issue. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use a source set within regards to this, and we will just add in our HTML attributes for source and the alt text. Obviously, as I said before, if you need the source set side and stuff, then it's best to use the kind of the way through this particular route, because it will do that for you, and it's a lot less work and there's a lot less stuff to go wrong. You can add the source set this way, but you're going to make a little bit of a job for yourself, and it's a bit more advanced than this advanced tutorial. Okay, so let's do this. All right, I think we need it again. We need our source, so let's go over here, custom attributes. So we need our HTML attributes. Okay, and then we need to add in our source, so like our icon, so source, thingy, open, close, space, and then back over to our Shopify, grab our image, feature image 1, yep, and plonk that in there, that should be fine. And then what we will need to do is we now need the alt text, and because the way that this attribute works, it allows you to string attributes together. So what you would normally find within the HTML, the HTML markup would be kind of image, source, and then your alt text, and whatever other attributes you want to apply it. So in order to do that, we just have to put a semicolon, and then again, we just have to type in alt, our straight line putty, and then we head back over and we grab our alt text Metafield. Okay, alrighty, and place that within our curly brackets once more. Okay, this is quite a long one, so copy it out. Let's head on over to our code editor or notepad or whatever you want to use, and I'll just pop it next to this one so you can kind of see what it's doing. So we've got source, and it's got our image Metafield, which is that, and then we've got our little curly bracket, and we've got our alt, and we've got our little curly brackets. Remember those spaces? You need those spaces. And then we have our image alt Metafield, which is doing that, and then it's closing it off. So that's looking all good. I like to edit it within these particular programs because it makes it very easy for me to kind of see the whole line, make a change, and go from there. So if I'm knocking out 20 of these, it's much quicker for me to just copy and paste and then edit it accordingly without having to kind of try and do it every single time within Webflow. Okay. Okay, and then back into here, just sanity's sake, pop that in there. So now the cool thing about this particular process is it makes it very quick to set it up for additional fields. So say for instance we wanted to create this as template 2 and title 2 and paragraph 2. All we need to do is just copy that, pop that in there, delete the ones that we don't want anymore, and then you just need to go into here and just change this to title 2 and paragraph 2. All right, so that's basically that. So very, very quick to do that within here versus kind of going through selecting, clicking, blah, blah, blah. But what we do have to do is just go back into our Shopify page, and we need to just duplicate these particular fields. So copy, paste. Again, this is what's nice about this particular thing is it allows you to do this. And we'll need the one for the title, so copy that. Finished. Fine. Okay, so now all we need to do is configure our custom attributes. Okay, and then export our code once it's refreshed. over to Shopify. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit save. If you don't, it will evaporate into ether and you will scream. All right. Change saved. Fine. Then online store. Add theme, upload. Got that one up there. Okay, so once that's there, now we just need to head on over to our apps, click on the Webflow importer, and pull in that JSON file so that we've got something to look at. Just let it reload, and voila. All right, it's just going to create those things. Okay, so our data is imported. Head on over to one of the products. We'll choose Practical Ball. Click on that. I just like to open these in new tabs. It makes it easy. So I'm going to use the custom fields one, not this one. This one is if you're using the Udesly custom fields. So we're going to use that one. And then we're just going to fill out these particular fields. So those are our newly created ones. Just going to copy and paste an image quickly. So again, if you don't know where those are, click on the settings, go to files, and you can upload your files and images there. And then just hit that to get your link over to here. So that's the icon. We'll give this a color. I don't know, that one's fine. And then we will just copy that. Pop that in there. Awesome alt text. Feature title 1. You can call us whatever you want. Okay. And then feature title 2 or whatever you want to call it. And alrighty, then hit save. Alright, now all we need to do is go preview the page. And you'll see our colors changed, our feature titles, all of that is coming across nicely. And job done. All right, obviously the one thing caveat this particular image, if we inspect it and we look at the code, we will see our awesome alt text is displaying within the code, which is great. Now, so yeah, so that's the tutorial. It's a bit more advanced, but it actually gives you a lot of flexibility, and this starts to build on some even awesomer stuff, if that's even a word, awesomer. And I'm going to cover that after I've done the Webflow version, the WordPress version of this one. And we're going to start looking at how we can use conditionals and different things to drive templates to make them even more functionality rich, so you can turn things on and off using these custom fields, which is very, very important and very, very powerful to use, and it means that you won't get tripped up with any limitations. Okay, and that's the tutorial. If you found this, if you found it useful, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Links below if you need them. Cheers.